Although Sigma guys are renowned as pillars of inner strength, this does not mean that they are never susceptible to low moods. Simply put, some days are harder than others. Males of all personality types, including Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Sigma, suffer sadness and despair occasionally. This is true regardless of who they are or what kind of personality they have. Having to deal with feeling down is never simple, whether it's due to a challenging work or home situation, conflict with a partner, mourning a loved one's passing, or even for no apparent cause at all. Male Sigmas are renowned for having a rebellious, lone wolf attitude. They are autonomous, liberated, self-sufficient free spirits who can add value to their own lives without needing the approval of others. Despite holding a position of power at the top of the social hierarchy, they choose to live life outside of it. The Sigma guy is still a human being and isn't immune from bizarre, odd, and occasionally outright crazy behaviors while having all these outstanding attributes. There isn't a quick fix or magic treatment that will make the feelings disappear. The things that each distinct person does to make themselves feel better will differ. However, how does the Sigma man deal with feeling so depressed? We'll look at 11 things Sigma males do in this article when they're feeling lousy. He will isolate. Going into isolation is the first thing the Sigma man will most naturally be drawn to do when he is feeling sad. Many people experience worse feelings when they are alone and need the warmth and vigor of others to lift them back up. However, because he tends to be more introverted and reflective naturally, spending too much time socializing and being among others drains the majority of his energy and lowers his enjoyment levels. It is when he is alone and has his own space that he thrives, so it's no wonder that when he is not feeling too great, he will retreat and withdraw to a place where he feels comfortable and secure, and that almost always equates to being alone. But what does he do when he's by himself? He thinks. Looking within is a fantastic place to start for the Sigma guy to start feeling better. He is naturally inclined to be very introspective and believes that self-reflection can be beneficial. He still does this frequently because, since he is his top focus, it is crucial for him to keep getting better and to find solutions to any problems he may be facing. Thus, it is not surprising that the Sigma man takes great comfort in withdrawing inside of himself when he is feeling down to examine the circumstances and start working on improving them. He checks in with himself. While he is introspecting, the Sigma male will make it a priority to check in on himself. This means he will look at all the basic physical areas of his life first, to ask himself if his main needs are being met. Is he sleeping well and keeping hydrated? Is he fueling his body correctly and getting enough exercise? He will ask himself these basic questions first so that before he faces the risk of going on a downward mental spiral, he can catch whatever might be wrong if there isn't such an obvious answer. Starting with the absolute basics, if he's exhausted, dehydrated, or starting to feel negative from a lack of exercise or not eating enough fruits and veggies, then these are easy problems to solve. He constructs a sort of support network. The Sigma guy likes his alone time and enjoys being by himself. We are aware of this due to his introverted personality, and we are also aware of the benefits he derives from spending time alone. While Sigma tends to spend more time by himself when he is depressed, that doesn't imply he isn't human and doesn't require a support system in the same way that the rest of us do. He is not the type of man to have a large circle of friends, not just because he is an introvert but also because he values quality above quantity and develops deeper relationships with fewer pals. He doesn't completely rely on his friends and family because he genuinely believes in taking care of all of his own needs, whether they are physical, mental, or emotional, but he is aware of how to put together a support network of a select few when he is feeling down. He is aware of the person he can turn to if he just needs to vent because, regardless of who you are, sometimes all you need is a sympathetic ear, even if you don't need any advice. Even though he is so independent, the Sigma male doesn't hesitate to seek assistance when he needs it. Or request a hug. He pursues interests. When he's miserable, he might want to curl up in the fetal position, but the Sigma man knows how important it is to be proactive and take little measures toward feeling better. So, whether it takes him 20 minutes or 4 hours, he will push himself out of bed to accomplish something he enjoys. However, he is wise enough to understand that anything he chooses to do shouldn't involve any additional work, mental exertion, or the ability to irritate him. Perhaps he finds comfort in painting, cooking, listening to music, or even playing video games, but he knows that he needs to do something to balance the chemicals in his brain by releasing a dose of serotonin. And that means doing something relaxing that he enjoys. He postures himself. We all recognize the value of regular exercise, and there are undoubtedly many bodily and psychological advantages. Despite knowing this, it can still be challenging to find the motivation to put in a full workout when you're feeling down. The Sigma guy still has those challenging days where moving is the last thing he wants to do, despite placing his general well-being as one of his top concerns. However, he is also incredibly self-conscious and is aware that even a small amount of movement will make him feel better right away. While he might not go all out and spend 2 hours at the gym or run a marathon, some easy stretching, yoga, or a short stroll might do wonders for his level of pleasure. His body will feel more at ease, his mind will stop racing, and he will be better able to clear his mind of the issues and emotions that are plaguing him. He leaves the house. Speaking of exercise, the Sigma man benefits from being outside generally, so it would be best if he could get in that crucial movement outside, especially in nature. All he needs to start feeling better is some mild movement and a nice dose of sunlight on the skin. He is aware of the advantages of receiving both dosages of vitamin D and oxytocin, which both maintain strong bones and reduce anxiety and depressive symptoms. If he's feeling particularly low, he may just go for a walk in the park, but when he starts feeling up to it, he loves nothing more than taking a long hike in the forests, mountains, or whatever natural area he has access to. When he's outside, especially in nature, he finds that he can clear his thoughts and take his mind off whatever might be negatively affecting him. He works on his mental well-being. And when we talk about clearing the mind, the Sigma male is particularly partial to working on all aspects of his well-being, not only his physical health but his mental and spiritual health too. He may enjoy practicing mindfulness or meditation, finding peace and calm when he can clear his mind and focus on being in the here and now. Mindfulness and meditation are extremely beneficial for reducing stress, depression, and anxiety. He might even make a trip to a remote location to discover a new kind of tranquility, perhaps staying a while at a Buddhist monastery. He is anxious to experience new things, whether it is overcoming difficult emotions or even pursuing his spirituality. He is eager to leave his comfort zone and attempt something completely novel. The Sigma guy will experiment with anything that can soothe his spirit and aid to clear his thoughts when he's feeling down because he is an open-minded and curious person. He does some spring cleaning. The Sigma guy will motivate himself to clean or organize when he is feeling down or depressed. A cluttered, messy environment has been proven to have a bad impact on the psyche, and the Sigma guy is conscious of how much worse he feels when things aren't neat when he's feeling like shit. When he is around a mess, he feels more perplexed, agitated, and anxious. Because he knows that using the vacuum and feather duster will make him feel much better and more in control, he will deliberately make the effort to do so whenever he is feeling down. Whether all he can manage is 10 minutes to declutter a drawer, or he feels up to spring cleaning the whole house, the Sigma male knows that a tidy house is a tidy mind and he'll thank himself later. He searches for inspiration. A Sigma guy is a person who is inherently clever and inquisitive. Even though when he isn't feeling like himself, his natural curiosity may diminish, he will still actively look for ways to motivate himself, especially when he isn't feeling well. He might start reading a book that appeals to him or starts researching a new skill he wants to learn. Thankfully, we have instant access to all the information and inspiration we could ever need. So the Sigma male is likely to take advantage of this wealth of information and spend time scouring the internet for sources of inspiration, reading articles and journals, and drawing inspiration from his role models or finding new ones who motivate him and help him to be inspired. He yells at video games. It's no secret that guys love playing video games in their spare time, and the Sigma male is no different. It's a way that many men like to unwind and de-stress after a long day. While this isn't crazy in itself, the crazy thing he does when he's playing, and makes him sound insane to anyone who happens to walking past his room while he's in the middle of a Call of Duty battle, is that he full-on yells and screams at the screen. He might be different from other men in many ways, but the Sigma male still has an ego, and when a game isn't going to plan, his ego will tell him that his teammates are at fault for the impending loss. Or if he's playing solo, his ego will blame him. So, he will need to let off steam, which he does by shouting. He doesn't yell because he is angry, but because his ego is stepping in as a defense mechanism. It is trying to protect him from emotional pain, so will try to redirect his negative feelings toward other players wherever possible. Yelling can also have a soothing effect on the Sigma male when he's feeling frustrated within the game. It's a bit like his version of scream therapy. He might sound crazy, but really, he's just having a good time. He sometimes hides his emotions. Men hiding their feelings isn't a new phenomenon by any stretch, but it certainly is kind of a crazy thing that they do, especially when they can be a little hypocritical when it comes to showing vulnerability. While a Sigma male appreciates maturity in those who show their feelings, it doesn't mean he necessarily plays by the same rules. The Sigma male is likely to have experienced pain, trauma, or loss in his life, perhaps from an early age, which makes it difficult for him to be vulnerable and to show his emotions easily. We know that the Sigma male lives outside of the social hierarchy, and doesn't care for social customs and expectations, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been affected by them. Society teaches boys that they shouldn't show their emotions, that it makes them weak or less of a man, and although he is more likely to show his emotions due to his disregard for what society dictates is correct male behavior, he still finds himself at times hiding his emotions, especially in front of people he doesn't know all that well. He sends short texts. Now, this is something that drives women crazy especially, but one of the weird things that a Sigma male does is send infuriatingly short text messages. Sigma males don't care at all for social media, so you can pretty much forget receiving DMs on Instagram, but even when it comes to a simple text message he will be annoyingly curt and blunt. This isn't anything that the person on the receiving end should take personally though. The Sigma male simply doesn't have time or energy for communicating at length through text, and if he needs to talk to someone he will do it in person or make a phone call. He is a solitary creature and highly values his time alone, so if he has been bothered by someone enough that he feels he has to respond to their message, then he will do so, but very bluntly. This could be as short as a K, which to most people is maddening. But do you think the Sigma male cares? Of course not. He has better things to do with his time and energy than worrying about people's reactions to a short text message. Aren't there more important things to be concerned about in life? Like yelling at the PlayStation, for example. He wears bad clothes. It may seem crazy to some, but to the Sigma, a male wearing fashionable clothes or even clothes that aren't completely intact is not something he finds as important. He doesn't follow the latest trends, he isn't going to be first in line to buy the latest pair of trainers that everyone wants, and you better believe if a hole in the crotch of his comfiest pair of sweatpants has suddenly appeared he won't throw them away or get them repaired, he'll just keep wearing them all the same. However, when it comes to work and business, he wouldn't want to ruin his reputation or chances of success by dressing badly. He does have some standards, but for anything outside of business he just doesn't care at all. His only priority is his comfort and his happiness. Does he care about other people's opinions of his fashion sense? Does he care if they judge him, thinking he's looked like he's just crawled out of a skip? Of course not. He's a Sigma male. He works on his marksmanship. One of the less sophisticated and quite frankly, gross, things that a Sigma male does is that he works on his marksmanship. And we aren't talking about hunting, oh no. We're talking about peeing. One of the great things about a Sigma male is how rare, unique and different he is from other men, but there are still some things that he does that most men do, unfortunately. And one of these is developing his marksmanship when he goes to the bathroom. He isn't a typically competitive kind of guy, except with sports or video games, but he is when it comes to completing against himself and how far back he can stand from the toilet while still successfully aiming into the toilet bowl. Then he suddenly becomes fiercely competitive, much to the chagrin of any females living in the same house who can only hope that if he loses then he has the consideration of cleaning up. He abides by the 5-second rule. Have you ever heard of the 5-second rule? Chances are if you're a male, then you probably have. One of the wonderfully weird and crazy things that the Sigma does in times of disaster is that he is a strong believer in the 5-second rule. As an example, imagine that he's eating his lunch and is suddenly startled by something or someone, which makes him drop his delicious sandwich on the floor. What do you think will happen? Any normal person would assume he puts it in the bin. But this is the Sigma male we are talking about. Of course, he doesn't throw it away, as long as it's been on the ground for less than 5 seconds, of course. This is the defined time window where he considers it safe to pick up food or cutlery after it has been on the floor without it being contaminated by bacteria or dirt. Because this food hygiene myth makes total sense to a Sigma male, and dare we say, males in general. He gets naked. When he can get away with it. Being naked at certain times of the day isn't the craziest idea, but the Sigma male is a rare breed of man and will get naked at any point that he deems it safe to do so. When he has the house to himself, he loves nothing more than to wander around in his birthday suit, doing all the normal things one would do in the house. Cleaning, washing clothes, vacuuming, dusting. If he can do it stark naked then he will. Although, he has to be careful with cooking. After all, bare skin, hot oil. Sound like a recipe for disaster. The Sigma male is all about freedom and being true to himself, so it's no wonder that he enjoys being naked so much. But what if he gets caught in the nude by a poor unsuspecting neighbor who happened to walk past his window at the wrong moment? Or what if his housemate comes home early from a work trip? While the Sigma male wouldn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable intentionally, he also couldn't care less about other people's opinions of him unless it stops him from achieving what he wants in life, so that's their problem. He has a good cry to de-stress. Yes, He can hide his emotions at times, preferring to hide his vulnerability from people he doesn't know that well, but the Sigma male is a sensitive guy who is in touch with his feelings even if he doesn't always show them. He knows that it's okay to cry and that it is sometimes necessary to deal with the stresses of life. While it isn't crazy for a man to cry, for some men such as the alpha male it can seem like a very strange thing, especially when you consider how similar the Sigma male is to the alpha. To other people, the Sigma male comes across as a pillar of strength who most of the time acts pretty aloof and mysterious, so people can be very surprised to learn that the Sigma male is so in touch with his sensitive side. He will happily let himself have a good cry when he needs to let out feelings and tension. He knows that this is much healthier than leaving things bottled up ready to explode in an uncontrollable and potentially harmful way, so he will allow himself a good cry to de-stress and reboot. He still prefers to do this alone in the privacy of his own home rather than at anything like a social gathering, though, just like the rest of us mortals, he is still a man and wants to maintain his pride as much as possible. However, because of his blatant indifference to what other people think of him, he would not give it a second thought if he were to start crying in front of others because, in his eyes, it is what it is. When it comes down to it, his opinion is the only one that truly matters, and he is a man who genuinely follows his convictions.